evening, Miss Layton.
With Jewel in the Crown, an extravagant drama serial on the subject of Anglo-Indian relations in the last days of Raj, Granada reached a high peak of excellence.
You always want to do the biggest thing you can in television, and you're restrained by the budget and by the length of the slot. The only two restraints known to man. And if you have a long slot, like 14 hours for Joe, and plenty of money, there's nothing to hold you back. It's wonderful.
The artist got everything in. Princes, generals, paupers, children, statesmen, and old Victoria in the middle on her throne in the open air. Quite absurd, of course, because she never came to India. But it's allegorical, because the jewel isn't the one the prince is offering to his sovereign. The jewel is India, Disraeli's empire. Yes, the jewel is India.
The fact is that at a time when BBC drama was strapped for cash, Granada and ITV therefore were pushing the boat out and doing it with marvellous success. There is nothing of similar ambition has been attempted since, and probably nothing ever will.
Granada entered a kind of an Indian summer in the first half of the 80s. You know, they did these, The Jewel in the Crown and Brideshead Revisited. It became, once again, a tremendously reinvigorated company, full of passion. It knew what it was doing. It was making high-quality programs for the ITV network and internationally, and making them with extraordinary success. And World in Action played its part in that.
The code word is double X. There is a bomb planted in the Rotunda, and there is a bomb in New Street.
The campaign that they waged to have the Birmingham Six freed was undoubtedly one of the finest pieces of campaigning journalism in British television history.
Confession number 1 has the bomb here by the jukebox. Confession number 2 has 2 bombs, not actually in the pub, but along the outside wall, here and here.
Really ought to go, Charles.
Just a sec. It doesn't make sense. Any minute now there's going to be a huge bloody hole in the floor telling us precisely where the bomb was planted. None of the so-called confessions are even close. I'll show you.
It's here, to the left of the bar. At the end of the day, it's not where the bombs were planted, but who put them there.
I thought the idea was to prove that none of the 6 did.
Sure, but if they didn't plant the bombs, then somebody else did. They wouldn't need to study this lot to find the right place. They'd know.
World in Action has traditionally been the heart of Granada, the managerial heart. You know, Sidney Bernstein set the programme up. Foreman was the man who instigated it. Plowright became very early on its editor and you know, presided over its great heyday. And each succeeded each other up the hierarchy of the company. And so the managerial chain went like an arrow right down to the heart of World in Action. And that remained the case really until the 1980s. Now it's changed. I mean, World in Action is no longer the heart of Granada Television. Granada Television is rapidly changing to being an entertainment company, rather like ITV is rapidly changing into an entertainment network.
If there was a danger when I came into the Director of Programmes job in the great things that Granada was doing, it was possibly that we were getting too prestigious and that we were losing some of the raw edge that Granada had when it started in the 50s and the 60s. That boldness and brashness, which was part of being a cheeky northern station, had perhaps been slightly overtaken by such massive prestigious projects like major dramas, which took 4 years in the making. And one of the things that I'm rather pleased about is that we haven't rejected that tradition. We still make Holmes, we still make Jeeves, we still make Maigret, but we started to inculcate a contemporary flavour as well.
Look, I hear you, okay. The Detective Chief Inspector has given her orders.
What did you expect? You know, that's really unfair. I mean, it's not as if the love of your life is walking out.
I just don't like being treated like some black stud.
what you think's been going on here?
Yes, I do.
Well, that's in your head.
Is it?
I think you'd better go.
Don't worry. I'm going.
I hope I can rely on you to be discreet.
You really are something else, aren't you?
In 1990, the franchises for the independent television licenses were up for grabs again. In the auction, Granada bid lower than their rival, but by playing the quality card, won the North yet again.
We thought it might be sensible to offer the Treasury a little more money than they'd got in the past. But we wanted to offer a decent return to shareholders and keep enough money behind to continue to make programmes of quality, range and diversity, which are the new words for Lord Reed's old ones of information, education and entertainment.
The chairman of Granada Television, David Plowright, has resigned. He's understood to have had a disagreement over programme-making policy with the head of his parent company, Granada Group.
Plowright was not happy with the new Granada Group chief executive, Jerry Robinson. Robinson, who had been highly successful in the catering trade, joined the Granada Group at a time when its finances were in bad shape and succeeded in bringing it back to profitability. But Robinson's cost-cutting had put pressure on the independently minded television arm, and when Plowright resisted, he was overruled.
I was very sorry that it happened in that way. But that the changes had to be made, there's no question about that. Absolutely no question. There was no choice. And if they couldn't be made with David there, then they had to be made without David, which I think is a pity.
I said at the time that there was a difference of view between myself and others about how you should manage the future in broadcasting terms, and I leave it at that.
Plowright's departure raised a storm of protest and gloomy predictions about television's future. Broadcasting celebrities wrote letters, and John Cleese sent an irate fax.
I don't know what John's motivation was in sending the fax in the first place. But I simply replied that it seemed pretty clear to me that I was a bigger fan of him than he was of me. And as events have turned out, it is, I think, clear to most people that it isn't just Granada that's had to change, but so has everybody else.
For Granada, as for other independent television companies, the days of wine and roses are over. Today there is a new and more restrictive financial climate, and as Granada takes up the reins again on January the 1st, 1993, they, as well as their viewers, must be asking what the future holds for them.
I think it's important that Granada stays in the production business on a large scale, not just for the sake of the ITV network, not just for the sake of a glorious tradition, but because I think that it made the north of England a power to be reckoned with in terms of image making against this huge machine, which is the London production industry.
Well, I don't know. That's the best night I've had for a long time. All clear. Keep the home fires burning while your hearts are young.
We've never subscribed to the view that London should be the dominant area. I mean, right from the word go with Sydney. We were forced, all of us, to live in Manchester, to meet. We did have London offices and things, but you were forced to collide in Manchester, to take a pride in it, to take a pride in the view that it was distance from London. You'd taken on metropolitan view. It wasn't necessarily a better or worse, but it was different.
Are we going to be able to see any of your particularly northern programmes?
I think that what Manchester sees today, London will see eventually.
There's a silver